Honorable Professor Dr. Kadarsah Suryadi, DEA, Rector of Trisakti, Honorable Dr. Andes Kuku S. Ahmad, Chairman of the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSN, Honorable Deputy Chairman and Board of Directors of the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSN, Honorable Dr. Yopi, Head of Center for Research and Human Research Development, BSN, Honorable Dr. Mego Pinandito M.Eng from the National Research and Innovation Agency, Honorable Dr. M.V. Reddy from the Institute of Research Hydro-Quebec, Honorable Professor Dr. Bambang Prasetya MSc from the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSN, Honorable Professor Dr. Endang Sukara from the National University. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the first International Conference Standardization and Metrology conducted on October 21st, 2021 virtually. And we appreciate you taking time of your busy schedules to join us to the conference. And this event also conducted with support from PT Almega Sejahtera and PT Siwali Swantika. Kami ucapkan selamat datang kepada Ibu dan Bapak pada acara The First International Conference on Standardization and Metrology yang dilaksanakan pada hari ini 21 Oktober 2021 secara virtual. Acara ini dapat terlaksana atas dukungan dari PT Almega Sejahtera dan PT Siwali Swantika. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia Anthem. We can guess to stand. Menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Anthem. To begin this program, we are pleased to have Dr. Andes Kuku S. Ahmad, the Chairman of the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSN, to deliver his opening remarks. Kami mengundang Bapak Kuku S. Ahmad, MSc, kepada Kepala Badan Standardisasi Nasional untuk dapat menyampaikan pembukaan. Kepada Bapak Kuku, kami persilakan.
Terima kasih Mbak Tika. Can you hear me? Bisa dengar Mbak Tika?
Bisa Pak?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day to all of us. Good morning to everyone, as well as probably good afternoon or even good evening to everyone joining from many different places and of course different time zones. It is my honor to be here with you all to have the International Conference on Standardization and Metrology, or ICONSTAM. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me in this good opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to our distinguished guests. First, Professor Kadarsah Suryadi, Rector of University of Trisakti, Jakarta, Indonesia. And then Dr. Mego Pinandito, Acting Deputy Head of National Research and Innovation Agency for Research and Innovation Utilization. And also honorable speakers, Dr. M.V. Reddy from Institute of Research Hydro-Quebec, Montreal, Canada. Professor Bambang Prastia from BSN, Indonesia. And then Professor Endang Sukara from the National University, Jakarta, Indonesia, who have been willing to be speakers on this event. And of course, I would like to thank you all the participants of the ICONSTAM 2021. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a dissemination of output or research or result of research activities is part of scientific and academic responsibility, which have to be delivered by all researchers to their stakeholders and communities. This is for the purpose of taking as much as possible those output of the research to be further used for further scientific exploration or even for commercialization by relevant industries. Research activities which have been carried out by researchers will generally produce a result in the form of scientific papers, policy recommendation, probably also prototypes for all those innovators, and also probably intellectual property rights or haki. So ideally, the output of research would be used as the basis for decision-making process carried out by decision makers or other related parties. Research is obviously needed by almost all aspects of human being. If we talk in the area of standardization, conformity assessment, and metrology, which is normally called as quality infrastructure, support from research activities is also becoming important to make sure that the direction of quality infrastructure strategic vision is in line with the current science and technology development. As such, when we talk about Indonesian national quality infrastructure, at which National Standardization Agency or BSN is the institution who hold the responsibility to manage and to develop all three pillars of national quality infrastructure, input or feedback from scientific communities are most welcome. They may come from several different stakeholders, such as research and technical development institution, probably from testing or calibration laboratories, certification bodies, universities, industries, etc. In order to compile those input or feedback, BSN has been providing tools to disseminate output of research to public, such as Journal Standardisasi or Journal on Standardization, Journal Instrumentasi or Journal on Instrumentation, and we have been also regularly conducting pertemuan dan presentasi ilmiah standarisasi or scientific forum on standardization. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, International Conference on Standardization and Metrology 2021 or ICONSTAM 2021 is an event jointly conducted by National Standardization Agency of Indonesia or BSN in collaboration with University of Trisakti and National University. Accordingly, in this good opportunity, on behalf of BSN, I would like to express our sincere thanks to both universities for supporting and make this event possible. To conclude, once again, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Have a fruitful and meaningful discussion. We are, of course, expecting beneficial inputs from all of you. And finally, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare that the International Conference on Standardization and Metrology, or ICONSTAM 2021, is officially open. Thank you for your kind attention. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bapak Kuku, for the warm welcome address. And now I would like to invite Director of Trisakti, Professor Dr. Kadarsah Suryadi, DEA, to convey the welcome address. Selanjutnya kami persilahkan kepada Profesor Dr. Kadarsah Suryadi, DEA, untuk dapat menyampaikan pembukaan. Kami persilahkan, Bapak.
Thank you, Bu Tika. Can you hear my voice, please? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good day for each and every one of us. Honorable Chairman of BSN, Dr. Andes Kuku Ahmad, MSc, Honorable Director of Universitas Nasional, Dr. L. Amri Bermawi Putra, Honorable invited speakers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us thank to Almighty God for blessing us into the right path and for granting all means and opportunities to gather here to attend the first international conference on standardization and metrology in ICONSTAM 2021. And it is my great pleasure on behalf of University Trisakti to welcome all of you in this conference. And in this opportunity, I would like to express our sincere thanks and deep appreciation to BSN for choosing Universitas Trisakti to collaborate since the year 2001. There are many activities collaborated between BSN and Trisakti, such as involvement of University Trisakti professors in National Standardization Forum, especially to formulate the policy in industrial field. And also, we have conducted together socialization of standardization and conformity assessment to Trisakti academic community and also to disseminate the conformity assessment to Indonesian community through research and community services. And also establishment of Integrated Information Center SNI Corner that provide Indonesian national standard documents. So there are many activities that we conduct together. And this year, Universitas Trisakti can participate in the first international conference in ICONSTAM organized by Center of Research and Human Resources Development National Standardization Agency Indonesia or PUSRISBANG BSN. And the term of this conference is Global Change on Science and Technology for the New Normal. And the new normal becomes our keyword today. As we all know, in the beginning of 2020, the world was surprised by a coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic gives huge and massive impacts to all around the world for these 2 years. Various life adjustment has been made to fight the global challenge in order to be able living safely and side by side with the coronavirus 19, which known as the new normal. Adaptation and innovation need to be done in all aspects, including health, economy, science, and technology. And in this regard, in order to support the advancement of field of standardization and conformity assessment in Indonesia, it is important to have synergy between all parties. In general, the ICONSTAM have several objectives, such as number one, disseminating a spirit of standardization and conformity assessment as pillars for enhancing national competitiveness. Number two, introducing and increasing the interest of science related to the field of standardization, metrology, and its applications. Number three, exploring potential and identifying solutions and challenge in the field of standardization, metrology, and its application. And last number is number four, establishing a close relationship between researchers, industries, regulatory bodies, academia, engineers, and communities. And through this event, the research and innovation community are expected to integrate, to collaborate together in its field to form a solid ecosystem for establishing a process from research idea until downstream. The collaboration can complement and sharpen the analysis, enlarge the strength and influence of the existing network to achieve significant results and strengthen its research institution. Therefore, the event could contribute to the global society to increase optimism for facing the new normal in the future. After all, to all of our distinguished guests and participants, thank you for being here and welcome. Enjoy the conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Kadarsa, for the fruitful remarks. And now, also may I invite again our Honorable Bapak Kuku S. Ahmad, all the keynote speakers, and all the guests to partake in a group photo virtually. And may we ask all of the guests to open your camera so the committee could do a screenshot. And then may I ask for assistance to the organizing committee to assist the participant to set a group photo virtually. Kami mohon kesediaan Ibu dan Bapak untuk dapat membuka videonya karena akan dilakukan sesi foto bersama. Kami persilakan. Kami hitung. Mungkin you could give your best smile in this session. 1, 2, 3. Next. Wait for a minute. Kita akan melakukan beberapa screenshot untuk beberapa halaman. Tetap dengan senyum terbaiknya. Kami ingatkan kembali bahwa acara ini juga kami tayangkan pada kanal YouTube BSN. Sudah? Baik, terima kasih Ibu dan Bapak. Next agenda, we are pleased to have our keynote speaker, and please welcome Dr. Mego Pinandito M.Eng from the National Research and Innovation Agency, Dr. M.V. Reddy from the Institute of Research Hydro-Quebec, Professor Dr. Bambang Prasetya MSc from the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia (BSN), Professor Endang Sukara from the National University, and also may we have Mr. Fadlan Muzaki, MPhil LLM, as the moderator of this session. And now let me read a short CV of Mr. Fadlan as follows. Mr. Fadlan lives in Cipete Utara, Kebayoran Baru, Jakarta. Got his 3 master studies in public administration, international relations, and contemporary Chinese studies. He is a strategic community expert, government consultant, and government affairs executive. Having many experiences as communication consultant, government relations, and public relations made him an expert on that field. And now, without wasting any time, I kindly invite Mr. Fadlan Muzaki to proceed the session. Kami persilakan kepada Bapak Fadlan Muzaki. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Is my voice clear? Well, I think it's clear. Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Ibu Tika, and it's really honor to be here as the moderator for the exactly the first international conference on standardization and metrology on the 21st of October 2021, with the big theme, or with the green theme, is a global challenge on the science and technology for the new normal. As I said before, this is really great, and we already listened the welcome address from the chairman of the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, or it is commonly known as a BSN, and we also already listened welcome address from the rector of Trisakti, and there is an insight that it will be really, really great we gather together here in the International Conference on Standardization and Methodology. As we have already listened the video, the looping video that already mentioned before this event, that's already mentioned that the global challenge, the pandemic and the crisis already almost 2 years start from the beginning in the end of 2019 or in the beginning of 2020, and this crisis already make us as the people to make the new kind of opportunity to make the crisis or to change the crisis into the new innovation or the new opportunity to get success in the future. Without wasting the time here, I just would like to invite Dr. Mego Pinandito M.Eng from National Research and Innovation Agency, or commonly known as a BRIN. Dr. Mego, you already here and you can listen?
Yes, thank you.
Well, okay. Before you start, I will introduce yourself first. It's already shown here on the screen. Dr. Mego Pinandito M.Eng is a PLT Deputi Pemanfaatan Riset and Inovasi Badan Riset and Inovasi Nasional, and beforehand as the Sekretaris Utama, the main secretary for Badan Riset and Inovasi Nasional, and he has a great working experience or training experience, such as technical designs of land system installation program, database system and design, data telemetry system and design, laser radar remote sensing and environment monitoring, training design of laser radar remote sensing and environmental monitoring. Actually, there are a lot of his experience, but we don't want to waste our time, because I think the committee will send the resume or the curriculum vitae of our invited speaker. Without wasting our time, once again, we would like to invite our honorable speaker, Dr. Mego Pinandito M.Eng. The time is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for Pak Saki. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning for all of the participants of the first international conference on standardization and metrology. First of all, I'd like to apologize that our chairman, Dr. Laksana Trihandoko, have another task. So on behalf of him, on behalf of the National Research and Innovation Agency, Republic of Indonesia, we call BRIN, I would like to deliver kind of the global challenges on science, technology, innovation for the new normal, especially linked to the standardization and metrology. Thanks, of course, to the chairman of the National Standardization Agency, Pak Kukuh, and of course with the director of the Trisakti University, Professor Kadarsa, and of course, well, the committee who are inviting us to share our thinking, our planning regarding to the science, technology, innovation for the new normal. I would like to also say hello to all of the keynote speaker coming to this international conference. I'd like to get permission for share the screen. It's okay? It's clearly, okay, thank you very much. And of course, I'd like to say congratulations and also success for this, the first international conference on the standardization and metrology, since it is very property and also very important to support our activities regarding to the research and innovations. And this is just a little brief explanation regarding to the National Research and Innovation Agency, we call BRIN. And this is the what we call the coordination of all the ministries, and also the we can before called the LPNK, including all of the human infrastructures and budget, all of the resources of all of the governmental research institutions. And of course, because of this, we are BRIN, covering all of the research field and responsible also for the National Science, Technology, Innovation Policy and executing agency of the research. And this is one important thing that we would like to do in the future is to improve the research capacity and competencies, in particular in the term of the research infrastructures, attract the young talents on research to join and to contribute in any research activity in Indonesia, and then support the global engagement and collaborations. As we know that some outcome targets, one is how to integrate it into the insert and research and innovation resources, and of course to creating more and more in the inclusive and collaborative in the global standard research ecosystems. It is almost coming from the academia, from industries, and also the community and government, so that we can make some great and strong foundation to the research and innovation-based economy. And here we point about the facilitating and being enabler for the national industry and business players to conduct research and development-based product development, and also to increase the direct economical impact from any research activities, turning research and innovation sector into the long-term investment destination. So it will be important also how to put the impact of the standardization and metrology to be good and competitive, and also high level of quality of product. This is just review what is the regulation regarding to the research and innovations, science, technology, innovation policy to become more and more well circumstance, well environment. For example, about the national policy, national law of the research and innovation. And then we can also looking for the local contents, just to look at the electronic catalogs for innovation, and also some incentive for the business players, for the inventors, and of course, how to, again, seek another research and innovation grant to do research in the future. Just show that we are a BRIN, try to make sure that all of the resources coordinated by BRIN coming from the ministries and industries to put in the one basket to support the science-based policy. We can also get feedback from the ministries and the institution. We are also providing the science-based policy recommendation at the national and sectoral level, because we can do few more higher. It's better helicopter view. It means we do with the macro views and also micro and micro view. So we can also do with the public as possible as we can do. And regarding to the improving of the research and innovation system, ecosystem, we try to make more and more in the sharing the infrastructures of BRIN, and also the budget or some program will support to these activities. And of course, we try to make more and more in the competencies, in the capacity building program to get more talents on the research and innovation. That is almost 70% of the what we need to do research and innovation in going well. And here, again, we try to make engagement with the academy, universities, and also in international institutes, with the business industries players, that there's some of them are also need as the research infrastructure, laboratories, and also how to make sure that all of the products in well and in standardization. And of course, the other thing is how to make a startup and also support the public. Regarding to this, this is the scheme how to improve the research and innovation ecosystem, since we now not only in the beginning, but we try to collect all of the critical mass. I mean that, for example, in the researchers and also another human resource works in the research and innovation are becoming one. We can also doing together in collaboration hub, and also make as the enabler for the multi local and also global stakeholders, in particular to support the local industries. In the other thing, we support them, they support the industry, and use almost the brain infrastructure as their R&D unit. We open the platform with, of course, the scientifically well-proven, and here how to make sure that all of the facilities are comply with the regulation and standard. I will give a little bit more in detail regarding to this. And also with the global collaboration, we try to get more support from the universities and other academics and institutions, and of course with the business player. Some program like capacity buildings and also mobility programs are needed. So we want to know that all of the human resource can also move dynamically and flexibility, and of course doing as the same with the academic, with the industries. This is just to explain how the research innovation and the commercial industry doing together. For example, if you look at the green one, this is what we like to do in the research infrastructure research unit. This is just what we call is the scientific activities to provide and to with the output of the international publications, patents, and another intellectual properties rights, and how to do with the human resources regarding to the, for example, the degree. We would like to get more and more in PhD researchers, and also doing with the key technology. And the other thing, how to get more funding to do this research. And also we cannot do by only one discipline of the field, but of course we try to make some engagement, doing multidisciplinary activities. And the other things, if you look at the industries, there is the important thing is the focus on the market and consumer preference. So how to make the extensibility from the research and the green one into the blue one. So this is what we call sometimes in the data value regarding to the commercialization. But of course here, BRAIN try to provide such kind of we call the research and development industry, R&D industry, which the infrastructure, that is including the equipment, the certification required in the every steps of this activity should be complied to the global standard. It means that if you look at the terms of the standardization and metrology, that is including how to comply with the global standard and the regulations, how to use and to get more in quality assurance regarding to the measurement standard or measuring standard, and also the certified reference material. It means that the standardization and the metrology are needed to support these activities. This is just get exactly what is the research innovation and the standardization and metrology are together in support it for the clinical trial based on the good clinical practices. We have to look at the discovery of, for example, from the plant and to the laboratory scale by extracting such kind of the materials, and also make some candidates of the medicines, or we can also with the medical devices to be ready to produce by the industries. We can here take a look at the preclinical trial and also the clinical trial, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, since it is should must meet with the good clinical practices and also other regulations. In the case of this, we have to get first, for example, the certificate of analysis, certificate of the good manufacturing manufacturing practices, get the principal investigator for the GCP certificate, and also laboratory with the ISO. Regarding to the institution who will give that certification is approval by, for example, the Badan POM, BPOM is for the drug, and also approval from the Ministry of Health and with the ethic approval or ethics clearance. And this is why BRIN try to make such kind of support, because as we know that we can also, we open the access laboratories and infrastructures. We have such kind of the testing laboratories that is very important regarding to the standardization and metrology, since the what we call the conformity assessment should be done by that institution testing laboratories. We have also with the institute give the certification for the personnels and also product certification. So this is what we'd like to say, that BRIN will also support the standardization and metrology. This is the new facilities that we now under construction, and some of them are already finished. We can open also this research infrastructure for the national and the international standard, and good laboratory practices, good manufacturing practices, such kind of these laboratories, like the traditional food processings, and also with the tropical biodiversity environments, for example, that is under the National Integrated Center for Genomics. And this is also for the greenhouse for tropical biodiversities, the National Integrated Laboratories for the Modern Technology. And yeah, this is what BRIN has. And this is also one of the program we offer to the stakeholders. And regarding to the research and innovation, this is what we'd like to say, that Indonesia, as the member of the G20, also maintain to continue the activities regarding to the new working group, is Research and Innovation Working Group under the G20, so that one important one item regarding the standardization and the metrology are also the important point to be supported. So we would like also to ask BSN to come and to get together with this working group. In the future, this is not only the far future, but very near future. Somehow, some of them are also have been done now regarding to the digital blue economic research innovations, biodiversity research, and also its value-added development, drug, and also the medical devices developments, space technology, science collaboration, and also technology for disasters management and mitigation. Almost all of and that research, including the high-performance computing, artificial intelligence, and digital world, digital information technology, and of course, somehow the materials coming from the biodiversity that is not only in the land, but also from the sea, from the oceans, and regarding to the drug and also with the medical devices, almost doing with the precision technology. So to make sure that the quality assurance and also performance of this research and innovation, we need such kind of the national and global standard measuring and also measurement standard. We need the certified reference materials. And of course, to make sure that all of these activities related to the such kind of the standard are comply to the such standard we do with the conformity assessment infrastructures and also quality assurance management system like ISO 7025 and so on. So how the science, technology, and innovation can also support that activity, and then this standardization and metrology output is, of course, supporting our in research and innovation, such kind of the almost all the aspects in the research and innovations. This is very important to do because we cannot do as the global competition unless we cannot make sure that all of the precisions technology, for example, in the measurements are not well traceable to the international standard. I think this is in the future regarding to the public health, in the protections, in the treatments, screening and diagnostics, and also with the medical devices. And also, of course, we do research on the social and humaniora, since we know that some kind of the, what we call the study on the social public response on the COVID-19 in social media, government readiness for the facing in the COVID-19 pandemics, and also the impact of the COVID-19 in the economy and labor are also very important to give more attention by all of the government institutions. And of course, this is just how the international collaboration in the medical devices regarding to the regional and multilateral collaborations under the ASEANs and APEC, and also especially with the ASEAN, we have also the Asian Medical Device Directive, since Indonesia are also as the chair of the working group for the medical devices, and regarding to the harmonization of the Asia in Africa and also the Middle East countries on the regulation of medical devices, Indonesia is chair of the working group for the clinical trial. So linked with this, it is of course very clear that the standardization and metrology as important matter to support the science, technology, and innovation should be must be performed very well. And finally, as we know that we are trying to make sure that as the global platform in the digital and blue and green economy, especially for the BRIN, the National Agency for Research and Innovation, the term and the mean of the standardization and metrology are very important. So hopefully BRIN can give more support and provide what the National Standardization Agency, BSN, need. And of course, we are also need the BSN, the standardization and metrology support to, again, to get more and more the best, and also the, what we call, how to improve our quality of life, our activities in the research, science, technology, and innovation in the future. I think that is what we'd like to share. I'd like again to say thank you very much for this opportunity, and hope that BRIN in the future can also get together to with the BSN and all of the institutions in Indonesia in supporting of the standardization and metrology. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Recap to Pak Musarki.
Oh, well, so sorry, very sorry. I just talking and I just realized that I just mute myself and it's like I just talking to myself. Well, thank you very much for Dr. Mego Pinandito. That's really insightful presentation that you already presented before. One thing that one thing that strikes me about your presentation about the collaboration between the research institution, business sector, and the startup, and the collaboration between the community and the research that will bring the new kind of innovation. And it is really insightful for me, and of course I think for the participant here. Mr. Mego, I think we need to have question and answer after all the keynote speakers. But for now, I would like to give the opportunity to Dr. Reddy from Institute of Research Hydro Quebec. Dr. Reddy, are you here? Oh, cool. Okay. Before we allow you, before we give you the opportunity to present your insight, your presentation, we would like to introduce or read your resume first. Dr. Reddy obtained his PhD in 2003 with the highest honors in the area of basic science and engineering, applied physics, and material science of engineering from the University of Bordeaux. I'm sorry if I'm not spelling it correctly. It's from French. And he is currently working as a senior researcher, a level 3, equivalent to professor level at the Institute of Research Hydro Quebec, Center of Excellence in Transportation, Electrification, and Energy Storage, Hydro Quebec, Canada. He is currently ranked the #1 highly cited researcher in Hydro Quebec. The study is from Scopus, and from July 2003 to May 2019, he worked at the Department of Material Science and Engineering, Chemistry and Physics, National University of Singapore, or NUS. Over the past 20 years, he has conducted leading research on material for energy storage, such as cathodes, anodes, supercapacitors, and solid electrolytes, solar cells, electrocatalysis, and photocatalysis, including novel methods of synthesis. Example, molten salt method, the evolution of functional properties of materials and development in situ techniques and material instruments, and renewable technologies and electric vehicles. Well, without wasting our time, we'd like to invite our honorable speakers, Dr. Reddy. The time is yours for 30 minutes. Would you like to unmute yourself first? I think it's still mute. Okay. Can the committee help us to unmute Mr. Reddy? Wait a minute. I think that this technical problem here. Or can you just unmute yourself by yourself from your device? No. Okay.
Father, excuse me. We already asked unmute Dr. Reddy, but it doesn't work still. Perhaps Dr. Reddy could sign out first and then try to sign in again.
Yes, just leave the meeting first. Okay. Okay, Dr. Reddy already leave. So while waiting while waiting Dr. Reddy rejoining us, I would like to read more his resume. Dr. Reddy has published around 200 papers in various international journals. He has obtained an H index of 66 with over 15,700 citations. This have recently placed him with the top 2% highly cited researcher in energy, ranked the 1002nd out of 106, 186 and 500 researchers in 2020. I think it's very, very, very good. I mean, like from 100,000 researchers, and Dr. Reddy already ranked 1002nd. Dr. Reddy is also serving as an editorial advisory board members in materials research bulletins and journals of energy storage. From Elsevier's Scopus Journal, as well as several open access journals like Materials, Engineers, and Molecules, MDPI, and the regional editors Nanoscience and Nanotechnology Asia. Well, Dr. Reddy is already here. No. Well, I'll continue. Okay, here you are. I would like to remind all of the participants here, please fill the attendance list of this conference. From the link that already given by the committee through the chat platform, and also you can download the virtual background, as you can see from my virtual background here, from the link that already given by the committee from the chat platform as well. Well, okay. We'd like to greeting Mr. Reddy, Dr. Reddy already. You can open no, there is still like the problem, I think, the technical problem. Or the committee can ask to unmute. I think we need to help Dr. Reddy.
Sorry, Mr. Fadlan, I think it's a technical problem, or perhaps we could change to Professor Bambang Prasetya to proceed.
Well, okay. I just want to make sure that Dr. Bambang Prasetya, MSc, are you already here, Professor? Well, cool. Very cool. Let me test. Yeah, okay. It sounds clear. Thank you very much. But before we allow you to present or to give you the opportunity to present your insight, that's of course very, very insightful presentation. But I would like to read your resume first. Let me find it. I think already keep it here. Wait a minute. Okay, let me just read from the screen, for the share screen. Okay. Professor Bambang Prasetya, MSc, and PhD. He is a senior researcher at Center for Research and HR Development from National Agency for Standardization of Indonesia, or commonly known as BASN, and also the chairman of National Biosafety Committee for Genetic Modified Organism, or we known as KKH-PRG, KKH-PRG. And then he graduated from Bogor Agriculture University, or commonly known as IPB, Faculty of Agriculture Technology, with the major studies natural fiber technology, and got MSc from George August University, Göttingen, West Germany, with major acidity of lignocellulosic material. I'm so sorry if I'm not spelling correctly.
No problem. Okay.
And God Doctor Magna Cum Laude from George August University Göttingen, German, with the major studies wood chemistry and wood biodegradation. And also, I think this is the fellow, right? The cooperative program at Kyoto University, Japan, 40 to 60 days in the 1994, 1996, 1998, 1999, and 2000. I think there are a lot of the experience and the skills that we can't tell to the participant one by one here because it will waste our time, because what we are waiting for is
not
the
necessary.
investigation. Okay, without wasting our time, we will give the opportunity to Prof. Bambang Prasetya. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Jaki. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You heard me, yeah?
Yes, it's very clear.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning for the invited speaker. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for giving us the opportunity to have a kind of a discussion. And congratulations to ICONSTAM first international conference. ICONSTAM is very a good forum in maybe to answer the researcher in standardization and also metrology together here to discuss what about it. And thank you for Pak Meko, Pak Professor Kardasha, Pak Kuko for giving us the introduction, the angle of the innovation view. Let me first to share my slide. Can you see my slide, maybe? It's okay?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Unclear.
I would like to show, just to make a short. Yes, I would like to share about the role and innovation of research on the standardization for the new normal. And my talk about global trend and challenge, pandemic COVID-19, lesson learned for the new normal, innovation, and also the role of the standardization, research on standardization. And then lastly, I would like to share about how to gain a maximum benefit of standard. As mentioned before by remark from Pak Kuko and also Prof. Kadrasa, that the standardization must be inherent, must be coherent with the trend of the technology. But in other side, we have to also address several problems coming in the future. For example, here, the global challenge, for example, the trend of technology for the big data and artificial intelligence makes the world change a lot in our daily life. And the future quantum technology by human enhancement technology also they be colorized in our life. And then we still facing a problem like that with the population, with water scarcity, and also with the land degradation. Maybe Prof. Endang, this is my professor, later will talk about the expert in biodiversity. And we still are facing about the effect and the impact of the climate change. So in terms of standardization, the risk-based thinking, how to mitigate the risk, must be in detail we know about that. And for example, in another side, the open science is already happening today. I think for the researcher now, part of my colleagues here stay here also as a reviewer of the journal international. This is an effect of the open of the journal, open of publication, and also open reviewer. For example, this is the open science of taxonomy, open access, open data, and also open reproducible research. This is very important that the research will be open to the society and how to link with the research. And also the open service evolution, open science policies, and also open science tools. We can access many aspects. And it's important for us how is to manage the the open reproducible research is very important. As I know from Pak LTH, also Pak Meko, right now BRIN provide the laboratory is for open for the scientists. This is something a good idea, because we can share the equipment, which are very expensive when certain institution to invest that. Open facilities is very important to make research, and then many other about open. It is due to the big data and also the big system, and the acceleration of the innovation is a must right now.
Sorry to interrupt, Professor Bambang.
Yes.
I think your slide is not moving.
Not move. Sorry.
Yeah.
sorry. This is you know that, but it's
Yes.
that is problem when I what is the slide screen. Can I show you with this method? I cannot operate with the full screen. I mean, I think this, as I mentioned before, that it is the trend science in the technology. This is must be inherent with, must be coherent, and also the facing of the problem with many other problem in the, for example, this land dissertation, and also the climate change, water scarcity. And then I just mentioned about the open science taxonomy. This is very important to know, especially for the researcher, that is open access is already there, and we can participate in the global level. For example, here from the access, from the data, from the research also, the reproducible research, and some activity related with the open research reproducible. And then when we talking about the agenda from the Sustainable Development Goal, I think it is a must. For example, in this picture, I describe about the hunger, about the vitamin and nutrition, how about the climate change, the CO2, and how about the land degradation, and also how about the temperature, the control of the climate change. And then we also, when we talking about the standardization, we have to make a completely detailed analyze the line, the risiko of the periodically, for example, the pandemic. This is a slide show us the timeline pandemic and the potential mutation of the microbe in tropical climate. It's very, the global outbreaks, it is in certain period time happen. So when we're talking about standardization, how to respond this, the pandemic keep a very important lesson for us to respond there, and how to prepare the standardization to make our society safe and in the near future. For example, here I already mentioned before that the mutation is for the tropical country like Indonesia, because the sunlight and humid, also the possibility is very high. From this event, I think the evidence from the pandemic COVID-19, in terms of food supply, food system, we're facing about the food security, food safety, and also the sustainable. In terms of the valorization of the bioresource, we have to explore more the bioactive compound to support our health. And then from this lesson learned, we can make a plan how to make innovation in the near future. For example, here, the opportunity of the innovation in the new normal. When we're talking about the food safety, biosecurity arrangement, traceability, and also how to replace the chemical pesticide to the biopesticide. And then when we're talking about the food security, the influence of the e-commerce, influence the application, change our people in the daily life. When we're talking about the bioactive compound, the functional food, natural food, also more use because the people want to make healthy. In short, ladies and gentlemen, the possibility in the innovation based on the social biodynamic during pandemic, like this. For example, during the pandemic, we have information about the public awareness and health concern to the environmental, creative idea in the society, innovative in packaging, healthy lifestyle, functional mood, e-commerce application, online shopping, distance learning, teleconference, webinar, crisis governance, and the tata kelola, governance, emerging non-thermal technology, biosecurity, and also concern in standardization and traceability. How to convert in the new normal? We can, here for example, the activity, how to optimize the supply chain, how to mitigate environmental impact, how to valuation the bioresource, improve consumer health, reduce waste and food loss, protect our consumer, and interneting technology information, automating robotic to support Industry 4.0, machine services, and also it is all to support the Industry 4.0 and Society 5.0. According to literature, the importance of the identification and reducing risk for innovation in the new normal is very important in terms of standardization view. Identification of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and also ambiguity. So we set up appropriate advanced information for strengthening interconnecting between producer, processing, distribution, and literal consumer. This is changed during the pandemic. Use certain safety health quality requirement, use standard to build trust in society, industry, or consumer, and also in the global market. Move to the next slide. Now I'm talking about the innovation. Pak Miko already mentioned about the BRIN strategy. I think we thank you about this, the update. But in terms of standardization, I prefer select a literature about the technology governance from the OECD. They have the motto, innovate well, innovate more, and innovate well. What is the point actually? The point is how to mitigate potential negative effect of technology. At the same time, we can make more benefit from the standardization and from the innovation. This is I look at this paradigm is very important for the standardization. Talking about risk, because as you know all, the PS and the staff is already know about the system management system in ISO changed in the last recently to the risk-based thinking. The important to identify the risk is very important to make a near future activity. And it is good literature I read from the Journal of International Business Study to reducing risk in the new normal by using standard because they convinced that standard has lower reducing the risk by information asymmetries, by reducing, providing the transparency, compatibility, interoperability, and also scale of advance and also accountability. This is the playing field of standard. And it is also mentioned regarding partial curriculum in 2016 that at least the standardization, the using global standard can affect at least 80% the international standard, international trade, I mean. This is very huge number that the trade, global trade, arranged by standardization. And that the standardization not only incomplete, but every year must be improved to make in line with development of technology and also the market need. There are some driving force for successful innovation. There are three at least. First is government business target funding. I think it is planned by BRIN, by strategic plan. Pak Miko already talked about this. And second one, the standard setting. This is very important. It is BSN and also KL and also CAN also metrology, and also maybe in the day future that we heard that metrology also in the print. It is either OR, the organization research, or the research center, whatever. But it is will be done in this to support the BSN and CAN. The third one is very important, the procurement policies, because by procurement from the BUMN, from the government, so we can absorb the new invention from the research center, from the university, from the private people. Also the innovation will absorbed by the agency for policy, LKPP, for example. This is the key driver for the successful innovation. And another view about the innovation with standardization. The novelty of innovation is good, better, cheaper, faster, and better. And in combination, better, cheaper, and all. And we must push synergy, interoperability, and also risk mitigation. And one is important in the literature regarding Reading and Patton 2020 that the acceptance from the industrial and the society must be in consideration. So it is the roadmap. I just very often to show this schema. The reducing costs, increasing industry acceptance by development, science, technology, and innovation, with step by step from the idea, prototype, and then scaling up, and the commercial. In this series, this step, what is important is how to make traceability, interoperability, and also reproducibility, and also feasibility in terms of economic scale. So maybe in the research center, in the step from the research, it is very important to make a proven concept of our research. This is one of the important to think about the correct research plan. When about the research method, I think I skip this because the participant or is researcher. I think skip. But I would like to mention about the quality of the reproductive research because this is open access of our research. So we have to take in consideration, pay attention about the validity, reliability, effectivity, and efficiency, feasibility, and also relevant to the topic and also sufficient data. Our research will be published in international, everyone will read. So this is very important to make a good research. And when we're talking about the reduction increase or increase reindustrial acceptance in industry, we already know about the technology readiness level. It is very important. Even it is actually based from the NASA, it is very high technology, but for Indonesia, no problem, we can follow. But some result not must be followed by this schema, because when we're talking about pharmaceutical product, after we got active compound, so the industry will use, because it is important to make the patent in this. So when we talking about the state, this is the research and development, and it is the commercialization, and there is the distribution. It is important to make attribute, to make several data, several certificate testing, to make trust the industry, to accept our result. This is one the way to convince our industry to make innovation faster and faster. When we're talking about the quality infrastructure within this system, the quality infrastructure including metrology, standardization, accreditation, and also part of them used by technical regulation by government, and then they will supply to the quality services for example, the calibration company, testing company, certification company, to service the industry or the organization that need a standard certificate, and this is all for the consumer. This is according to UNIDO 2015, and for my opinion, the quality infrastructure at the national level and link international level, I can show with this slide. For example, PSN conducted the standardization. PSN, HEPCAN, accreditation, national accreditation body, and also metrology. The 3 points will support the testing, calibration, inspection. We call it CAB, conformity assessment body, which also used by certain regulation here, and all metrology and also accreditation, standardization linked with international platform for ISO, IC, and here PAPM, OIML, and also ILAC, AF in terms of the accreditation. And the position of PRIN is here to support the industry, enterprise, and also the organization that use the standard, that all the system of the standardization and conformity assessment and also certification provide a certain services to the enterprises with certain technologies used from the research center, and also in terms of international global market, we must pay attention of a DBT forum, technical barrier to trade. This is according rule of the agreement related with standardization, also technical regulation and accreditation, and also used for our position in international. From the enterprise will endorse our product to the global market, and also to make product in our domestic market safety and maybe also cheaper. This is the system. And next slide, I would like to share about the acceleration of implementation of standard. Many questions come from the industry, from the society, why the implement standards somehow difficult. But I think in the last recently, the system is very good, that some critical point must be considered, for example, the coherent with regulatory governance in line with the innovation process at the national and also the global level, availability of scheme and accreditation and certification, readiness of certification body. This is all very important. Sometimes we already produce standard, but this certification not available. Readiness of the testing laboratory and competency of the person in standardization. Therefore, in the PSN also there are declared for standardization. And also the important one is the awareness of the user and also customer. The degree of conformity toward this item will influence the acceleration of the implementation of standard. Now I would say about the position of research in standardization, with the goal to stimulate in the innovation and to foster industrial competitiveness, and also to improve the quality of life. This is the goal of standardization. Actually, PSN and the CAN will, together with the regulatory sector, bring the standardization to achieve this goal. But in the context of research, we can supply in the research activity development method and biological, chemical, and also physical chemical, advancing the measurement science and also creating a critical point. More detail, I would like to share this slide. For example, the research for supporting a standardization, support a standard development, support implementing of standard, need assessment. This is very important. Need assessment and foresight, including technologies foresight. Impact assessment in terms of economic, social, and also environmental. Research on development method for biological development, meteorological development, method in biological, chemical, physical, chemical, and also advancing measurement science, creating critical measurement solution, and also research on the field testing method in industrial, also in the certain field. The sector may be can we choose here? I think the important one is export commodities. Right now, we're facing about the oil palm in Europa. President Jokowi last week also have the pay the attention about the how to facing with the WTO about the TBT. This is the role of standardization. I think food, also including halal, is very important. Healthcare, environmental, energy, also building, construction. In talking about safety in building and construction, and also and then also smart city, industry 1.0. This is the research area that we can support the standardization. Okay. And this slide tell about the relevant quality infrastructure to promote innovation and how the role of research and standardization. I take from the PDB, the PDB is organization methodology in Germany. First one is the quality infrastructure first level. It is PSN task from the methodology, from the accreditation, also standards development. And then the second level, this is the CAB. CAB is conformity assessment body for calibration testing, reference material producer, also testing laboratorium, and also certification body. And then the innovation R&D, and also the industry use all the result of this infrastructure. And also here at the end, the services of the quality infrastructure will deliver to the customer. Now I point out in this research field, for example, either here, we can support. For example, effective method for reducing cost, traceability, and reproducibility, economic impact. How the economic impact and also social environment impact need assessment for the technology foresight, for example. It is the position of the research on standardization in terms of the quality infrastructure level. And then there is also factor affecting effective formulation of standard. Standard must be complied with Indonesian regulation, coherent with national innovation, high concern in safety, security, health, and environmental aspect, comply with WTO principle based on evidence and a scientific base. These all need a scientific publication with concern market needs, scientific justification, state of the art and testing method and technology, and trend, global trend in standardization, and so on. Supporting research will be very important to make this kind of the driving force to the acceleration, the formalization of standard. This one is the WTO principle, openness, transparent, consensus, effectiveness, coherent, and so on. And when we're talking about the design standard from the at beginning, the pure research oriented basic research, applied research, and also development, and every step we can produce a standard with certain function. For example, in the pure basic research, we can semantic standard, function of standard for the definition and reduction of the transaction, and also the last one is increase quality, reduce health, and reduce risk of the health and safety, interoperability. We can support by a certain research here to make every step related thema to support this kind of standard development. Now, lesson learned from the pandemic, there are many activity about the standard for protein-based therapy. As we know all that protein-based biologics drugs is currently important to treat cancer, autoimmune disorder, and also infectious disease. The problem with the biological material is that they are difficult to produce because this is biological substance to store and also to deliver reliably. And development of better measurement method and tools will be encourage the innovation and reduce the cost and also the risk. This is quite important, and we know that the global therapeutics antibody market was of over than $100 billion. This is huge number. And according to Jim Haggard, this is expert in the DNA analysis from the UK, telling us about the molecular analysis. It is quite very new in the last 5 years. Every step from sampling, storage, quality, extraction of the sample to have a certain nucleic acid and then the DNA using a digital PCR, the need of standardization here. So many publications about this recently, and BSN also started with the methodology of biology from last year, I think, and they try to use the digital PCR to analyze of bovine, for example, for the halal food, for example. And then in the genetic testing technology, the trend of medical care tailored that each patient must be comply with certain DNA from this person, for the patient. And also, this is my job because I'm from KKH committee. The research and planting of GMO plant will be developed because the regulation already is there, starting from this year. Also, so many researchers will make helicization of the GMO plant. And they need to evaluate the accuracy and rapid affordable genetic testing technology that will be available in our system. In Badan POM, also the National Agency for Drug and Food Control, also they had networking for the laboratory to testing of the GMO product. For this activity, the reference material and benchmark genome are required to ensure the accuracy and the new high through our DNA assay. There is DNA assay, either for the health, either for the agriculture and environmentally. This is very important to make a methodology to support this activity, because we talking about the patient. We make sure the patient. Now, right now, the accreditation of the hospital in Indonesia change the system, will be open from the one single body to many body to make accreditation at the hospital. And this is a playing field for my colleagues from the methodology, from the SNSU, I think. But it is, I put, because this is a new one, the methodology traceability chain in terms of biological methodology. Every reference material and also measurement reference, they had hierarchy in terms of traceability or authenticity. And here, the red arrow, is the possibility to make a research for an MI, also for the company or for the research center in print. Another pillar is the hierarchy more in detail from the routine lab. We call working lab. Just from the international platform, how to bring to the little lab, and the same time for the country with certain system in the certain country, the platform is the same, not in a national level but internationally. This is very important to make sure that our methodology, the data of the patient with compatible. It is very important. Right now, Indonesia, not sure between hospital, between doctor, the certain data is compatible. This bad experience in the vaccination, the vaccine. Before we got vaccine, we measure the blood pressure, but there are so very different number of the blood pressure and different equipment. This is. I like to show you about the importance of the reference material and our reference measurement in terms of DNA. There are worldwide available around 289 certified reference material and 194 for reference measurement procedure. This is Indonesia just start to endorse kind of the methodology in the medical health. Of course, another field the methodology chemistry and methodology in physics must be also supported by certain measurement and also material reference. For example, subject to the export commodity, as I already mentioned, environmental energy is the point that we also very important in the near future. And another example, here I put the research and reference for the cement, because cement is very important for the building construction, and we often heard accident in the construction. One of the important that is how the mixing of the cement, even it is already operational standard procedure, but we have lack of the standard derivation material. Right now, currently we have in international, we know that already 20 type of the CRM for the cement. In Indonesian, the trend result of the cement is very promising because they utilize of the waste from the slag iron industry, the fly ash, and also tailing waste and the building material. So they need kind of reference material to convince that the material in the cement make sure is good, contribute to the qualities of the construction. Maybe last slide, I would like to share you about how standard and patent can make a maximum gain the benefit of standard. This is in fact not theory, but in fact many countries successful when they can play standard and patent in combination, so they can maximize the benefit of economic. The research will supporting the impact of the value of standard and patent, global market to access licensing and technology innovation, and also need strategic plan, synergism between research and standard development. This is also important about the role of the standardization in technical barrier. For example, right now, there are some issue in the WTO related to the product of Indonesia. But what interesting is, every dispute must be supported by scientific justification. This is very like in Indonesia when we're talking about justification. Right now we're facing about the nickel export, oil palm. So we need a justification in scientific publication. Therefore, the research will be focused in certain area and then delivered to the BASN as the focal point of the PT they bring to support the sectoral and dispute discussion in the WTO in Swiss. This is my last slide, how the standardization and methodology can support the current issue about circular economy. First, even it is already endorsed by industrial minister, but the mapping on the acceleration of the circular economy is needed. And research on implementation of life cycle assessment also needed here in this field. Need assessment and standardization development methods to supporting the circular economy also very important to support this implementation of circular economy or bioeconomy in the near future. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for Prof. Bambang Prasetya. It's very insightful presentation, and actually there are a lot of things that interest me regarding your presentation. But one thing that highlight my attention that your presentation about sustainable development goals, because as we know that we are approaching the deadline of 2030 agenda, and also your explanation about providing transparency and accountability in the new normal era, and also the quality of research, so on and so forth, a lot of things. So I think there will be a lot of question in the question and answer session after this, but we would like thank you very much once again. We will meet again in the question and answer afterward. But now we would like to invite Mr. Reddy to join with us. Oh, cool.
I think my voice is audible. Anyway, Assalamualaikum and good morning to all our Indonesian friends and then faculty, everybody. Thank you. And sorry for the delay. In fact, so presently I'm based in India, Bangalore. So I'm not in Canada due to I came for some medical emergency with my wife. It gone to some surgery. So that's why I'm somewhere in the hospital. So I'm presenting with my iPhone. Okay, some of my, I think my conference organizer is going to share my slides. Okay, hopefully I'm going to present my talk within 25 minutes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, please kindly share my slides. In fact, already they've given the introduction, so I don't need any much introduction. And so once again, thank you very much for the conference organizers for the putting this conference event to be one of the best. I can tell that. Sorry, sir, 1 minute, just okay. Because sometimes, you know, it's like, okay. So what I'm going to discuss today is that we know that importance of advancement of analytical techniques, especially for EV batteries and its science and technology. Especially, I think always people are talking about the COVID and due to environmental pollution, all this one. So I'm going to talk about importance of, for example, batteries, or for example, you have environmental sensor, importance of material, especially for metrology or any different type of the applications. So also during my presentation, I can mention the importance of materials. For example, just now, I think previous speaker talked about suppose if you want to do any qualification, for example, in mining industry, I think they want to be proper quality. For example, you can see my present institution is a new amount graphite, is a new graphite world. So again, we know that all graphite we can prepare with a different variety of the grades. Again, there is a lot of minerals. Again, you have to understand what they call the mineralogy or something like data analysis, etc. So next slide, please. Okay, anyway, next slide is already, my presentation is already, people have been talking, so I don't need any much track record. And I'll go for next slide. So since they already discussed, okay. So again, presently, previously almost 16 years, I was based in Singapore and next to Indonesia. In fact, I visited different university during my time at Indonesia. In fact, now presently I'm based in Canada, where the Quebec, so they call a French and English speaking colony. Again, you can see that with the different season, especially I think extreme temperature, you can see like minus 30 degrees during sometimes like January, February, and some other beautiful season. Maybe again now winter, soon the temperature is going to be low as soon as possible. So again, next slide, please, madam. So this is outline of my presentation. So I'm going to discuss the importance of introduction, instrumentation, especially EVs and electroanalytical techniques, especially for battery materials and etc. and what are challenges, and followed by conclusion if time permits. So next slide, please. So these are my small collaboration. In fact, you can see that I've been collaborating with Singapore as well as various part of the things. Again, you can see Indonesia, including ITB, and then University of Padijaran and the University of Indonesia and Manado, and a few other places like, for example, Surakarta, and also few other places. Also, I was collaborated with Indonesia, and also few publications already published. Idea here is that you would like to share my knowledge, and then it is nice for us to make a friends and make a collaboration that is good for, especially in terms of students that they can learn. In fact, during my turn at NUS, I invited some few Indonesian students. They were from Bandung. They visited our lab and they have given some training, etc. Next slide, please. So I'm not able to send the photo because of the size limit. So these are my research interest. I think on the cathode materials, again, we know that a hybrid electric vehicle, there is a materials importance, for example, cathodes, anode, and supercapacitor and the lithium air. And again, at the end, you can see development of in-situ technique. For example, instrumentation is very important, especially if you want to design any battery material, how do you want to do fast charger, or for example, or you want to understand how the battery cycle life, etc. I think importance of instrumentation or analytical techniques will play an important role. So I'm going to the next slide, please. Now I'm going to mention what is the introduction. In fact, presently, recent years, always researchers concentrating, remain research energy, environment, for example, material for environmental protection, healthcare, and water technology. In fact, I think previous speaker have talked about what are the, for example, material for healthcare or few other areas. Again, the maintaining the sustainable environment, healthy lifestyle, I think monitor the waste management and reduce there are all the air pollution needed for the required for the infrastructure for any smart city development. For example, we see that places like Indonesia compared to 15 years back now, there is a lot of people like a lot of growing economy, including that all Asian countries are going up. So that's why we always have to look for the always people call a smart city. In the sense, a smart city means you have to reduce the pollution. For that case, I think electric vehicles are the one of the alternatives. I think we can reduce the, for example, pollution, etc. So now in general, the materials broadly classified based on the building materials are, for example, you can see here. So are building materials and then physical properties, etc. Today I'm going to focus on something like materials for electric vehicles, etc. Again, go to next slide. So again, in general, materials for example, other application, nanotech, if you talk about in general nanotechnology, we can use it anywhere, for example, energy, environment, and healthcare, etc. For example, spintronic aerospace, or for example, you see that, for example, environmental sensors, or for example, if you want to do record the like DNA analysis, like sensor, etc. I think materials will play an important role. So next slide, please. So for example, importance of energy storage, if you see the like left side, for example, you would like to run with electric vehicles, or you would like to store the solar energy or wind energy, we need a low cost and long cycle life of battery materials. So you can see again, this is the world data, the importance of energy crisis. I think these are, as you know, that everywhere the oil prices keep on rising. That's why we have to always people are looking for other alternative energy. For example, places like Indonesia, we have a lot of good minerals, for example, nickel, and example, that is also one of the very interesting material for batteries, or graphite. Also, we have very interesting sources and few other minerals. That's why Indonesia has a lot of good geographical locations, and there's a good lot of mining industry, etc. So overall summary is that, for example, if you use electric vehicles, we can reduce the environmental pollution. And for example, our idea is to reduce the CO2 emission, etc. So shall we go to next slide, please? So, for example, now I'm going to introduce what is the importance of batteries. You know that the batteries are devices which convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Batteries are broadly classified in primary batteries and secondary batteries. Primary batteries are non-rechargeable, and secondary batteries are rechargeable. Again, we can see wide varieties are available. Again, today we are focusing on why lithium batteries are very famous and what are the advantages, especially if you talk about the high energy density, etc. Shall I go up next slide, please? So, for example, all people are using this type of pouch cell. So that is one you're using our mobile phone. Like for example, laptop use some cylindrical cell, 18650, 18 mm, 65 millimeter. And for example, future run with electric vehicles, use this type of 186. Nearly a large number of cells are put in this type of battery pack, for example. So idea here is that so materials will play an important. For example, you may see this particular battery pack. For example, your Tesla battery. Maybe next slide you can go. So next slide. So you can see the, for example, Tesla battery. So it contains, for example, nearly 7,000 cells you have, in the sense that so that's why. So you may ask you how to reduce the weight of the cell, or for example, number of cell. Only way is that we have to look for the high energy density materials, and for example, high power density or whatever, high capacity, etc. So in summary, the materials will play an important role. Suppose you want to reduce the cost of your electric vehicles in future. So that's why research is needed for both in terms of both our academic as well as the industry. That's why there is a lot of interest with the worldwide with the different type of the companies, etc. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to introduce what are the important, for example, if it is smart materials, always I mentioned you have to look for high energy density and high capacity. And again, a long cycle life, because once you purchase a battery, you need to work for a long cycle life, and reliability in the sense that once you mention that particular 300 kilometers, you have to work for example, one charge. So another of the climate condition, for example, place like in Canada, the temperature is very cold, so at the time, so we have to use, for example, heating system, all this one, and working voltage. And Coulombic efficiency is nothing but difference between charge minus discharge capacity, 100 minus. So idea here is that always you should get 99% or 100%. Mostly, if you see too much difference is not good. So especially for the first cycle, it reduce. And impedance of the cell is nothing but low resistance, means that resistance of the cell during the long-term cycling, it has to work. Next one is the fast charging is very important. For example, always people are looking for any battery similar to your gasoline vehicle. Is there any way to charge a battery within 2 minutes? For example, 10 minutes. That's why most of the battery manufacturing always they will do with the slow scan. The reason is that there is a problem with the diffusion limitation or kinetics limitation. That's why we have to look for the materials to be low cost. After solving all this one, we have to look for more safety, low cost, and toxicity. At the end, always look for sustainability. Not like we have to throw that, we have to always recycle the material. That's why the circular economy, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the important point you have to remember is that how to, for example, you can see that these are the, so what is the mention I mentioned that we need usually any lithium battery processing, it contains, there is a mining processing and followed by electrochemical characterization and manufacturing end use. So for example, you have lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt, and iron. These are elements are needed for the cathode electrolyte fabrication. For example, graphite we need for anodes. For example, copper, aluminum, steel is for the manufacturing of the cells. And for example, if you're working with your permanent magnets, you need something neodymium disomenes like magnetic material, etc. That's why it is very important. Whichever the countries, a lot of resources, those people can make monopolize the market. So that's why, in general, we have to depend on the. That's why most of times you depend on the country to country. Whichever the countries that are producing more, that's why you import and export is. And that's why all the cost, everything, it will play an important role. That's why sometimes presently the cost of the vehicles are higher. So that's why the research is needed to reduce further the cost of the material. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to introduce the for example, what are the basic principles of your batteries or your electric vehicles. As I mentioned, you have some cathode and anode, and there is a separator, the electrolyte. To avoid the short circuit, we are using the electrolyte. So electrolyte is a medium to pass to one side to another side. For example, you have lithium batteries, lithium containing oxide, for example, lithium cobalt oxide, lithium iron phosphate, or for example, we talk about sodium batteries or potassium, we need a respective oxide. So especially for the anode side, they call as a negative electrode. Either you can use a graphite or lithium metal, or if you want to be sodium metal, if you sodium battery or potassium or hard carbon. Again, it depends on, for example, calcium, magnesium, etc. Charge means oxidation, anodic scan, positive current, SOC means state of charge, discharge we call as reduction, cathodic scan, etc. Electrolyte, we use something like molar LiPF6, CDMC, and ionic liquid, polymer liquid, etc. So it is very important. These are the components. Suppose you want to test away the basics, then fundamental research in it and this particular material. Next slide, please. So it is very important. 2019 Nobel Prize is given to chemistry because of the well-known physicist and chemist. They are all, that they did the research in the basic sciences. Remember, sometimes like their ideas will come from basic sciences. And again, if you want to go for a lot of modern big vehicles, again, the engineering will play an important role. Next slide, please. So this is the importance of the, for example, principle. I tell you what will happen during charge. Lithium move from the cathode to anode, means like cathode to anode, where the electron will pass to the circuit. During discharge, lithium will go back to the original state. That's why we call it the rechargeable batteries. So again here, so once you remove the lithium structure, will cobalt 3+2 4+ oxidation, positive current and negative current. When for example the same thing, the voltage versus capacity, we can get the difference between charge and discharge potential. So in practically, suppose you want to make high energy density, we need something like a difference between charge minus discharge should be higher is better. And we have to get high capacity, then only we can reduce the cost of the batteries. That's why it is very important to do research in this. Next slide, please. Next. So these are the different type of mechanisms. To time limitation, I'm going to skip very detailed. So remember is that most commonly intercalation reaction is well known. So that's why, so this mechanism is already used by the industry. Idea is that we can see the less volume variation. If you talk about the silicon and tin, it will undergoes the alloying, de-alloying mechanism. So remember, these are all the research you need once you publish the paper. Otherwise, if you do industry research or the industry, they don't care. They care about your values, how much capacity you're getting, how much energy density. Once you want to write like papers in publication, international journals, you have to write all the mechanisms. Next slide, please. So what are the important is some new people are there. How it's always you to look for the low atomic weight. What are the mineral or what are the materials you prepare? Materials should be low atomic weight. You can calculate the theoretical capacity of any materials. And ideal anode should be you have to get lower discharge potentials, and cathode should be higher charge potential. Voltage at the cell is nothing but average charge potential cathode minus anode, and energy density we can calculate it by voltage cell multiplied by capacity. So it is very important. So always this made them to suppose, for example, you want to be high capacity, high energy density. There are all the factors you do like voltage multiplied by capacity is very important. And electrolyte, for example, cathode anode must not be soluble with the solvents, especially electrolyte must not react with chemically with solvents, etc. And especially also we need something like good mixed ion conductor. For example, always people are looking for fast charging. For that case, we need something like good mixed ion conducting material. Next slide, please. So because of this advantage of this lithium battery, if you see that high, for example, volumetric energy density and gravimetric energy density, and also if you compare your other batteries, lithium has higher voltage. That's why we can use it for example, in space as well as a lot of our mobile phones or etc. etc. So next slide, please. So now material processing and characterization techniques, this is very important. So next slide, please. Sorry, because I'm not able to move my slide so that I'm presenting. So for example, so what are the research you do? So always now we have a lot of technologies. I think we can produce materials in a large scale. I think that's why importance of chemical engineering. We can prepare the materials in large scale. Or material engineering and metallurgical engineers, we can prepare the materials in large scale. And we can use it for how to make a battery pack. I'm going to tell in the next coming slides. Next slide, please. Once you do this one, these are various chemical methods you can do, either physical methods or some metallurgical approach you can do. Idea here is that it is very important. Always, what are the materials you do? We need appropriate chemical methods to get a desired materials. Next slide, please. So, for example, if you work with a thin film sputtering, I think we need something like this type of physical sputtering unit. You can vary the power, the composition, etc., and we can understand the deposition rate, etc. Next slide, please. So that's why it is the importance of technicals. For example, you see the smart city application, smart card applications. We need something like layer to layer type thin films we can get. Or if you want, for example, you are using the Dreamliner flights, there use something like electrochromic windows. So for example, you can put on the particular switch automatically, your color is going to vary. That's it. This same principle is going, for example, all the thin film electrochromical device. For example, if it's a solid state small micro battery, you can make a layer type layer. You can put it in the smart devices. That's why miniaturization of the devices, especially my microelectronic application, for example, smart city, smart card, etc. I think micro batteries will play an important role. Next slide, please. So these are the various characteristics. That's why it is the importance of the instrumentation. I don't have much time to discuss individually. Again, in summary, you can see compared to olden time, there are a lot of interesting, good instrumentation has happened. For example, the importance of nice detector. That's why we can get a good data when compared to the olden time. The same spectrum, for example, X-ray diffraction pattern. One pattern, good pattern I used to record. I'm talking about more than 15 or 17 years back. One sample I used to record for almost like 24 hours. Now, because of advancement in instrumentation, we can record same sample within 10 minutes. You can see how fast the detector. That's why because of the advancements and in the instrumentation. Next slide, please. So it clearly shows that how the instrumentation, if you talk about the X-ray diffractometer or, for example, Raman instrument or NMR, etc., etc. So next slide, please. So you can see that various, for example, you have battery tester is there, charge cycling or impedance analyzer, or different types of, again, the importance of the instrumentation or the analytical techniques, for example. These are all the tech, for example, the fast charger, it is used for your electric vehicles. Just you want to monitor the voltage, how fast you want to charge the batteries, everything, or battery management, everything will do this type of the particular setup. Next slide, please. So again, I'm going to a little bit faster because it's more on physics. If people are interested, again, the importance of the impedance spectroscopy, it will give the information about how the resistance is, or you can do some modeling, various resistance parameter you can do that is useful for, especially there are all things we go for more detailed studies. Shall I go next slide, please? So, for example, you have electric vehicles. For example, you talk about the battery electric vehicle, if a car, then there is a battery pack and there is inverter and AC, DC, etc. Again, there is the importance of a lot of opportunities, for example, in the science and engineering, including electrical engineering, mechanical engineers, to work together. Next slide. So, for example, you can see that you need something of importance of power electronics. I think we need AC to DC or material mechanics, electromechanics, and energy management, etc. That's why it's very important for the, so for example, future research, everything is very important for, these are all the points you have to take into consideration. That's why it is a multidisciplinary, suppose not like we need the importance of mechanical engineers, electrical engineer, or computer engineers, etc. Next slide, please. So again, for example, you see the battery management challenges. For example, so many, not like one cell, you make it so many, around 7,000 cells you're putting in a particular battery pack. It has to monitor the temperature, or it has to monitor the voltage, charge voltage, discharge voltage, etc. Or sometimes if you're going to higher voltage, charge voltage. That's why it is the importance of the instrumentation or techniques. That's why it's very useful for the, especially for future challenges in the EV industry, etc. Next slide. So these are the different challenges. It means that you have to monitor the temperature, voltages, etc. So that's why the battery management will also play an important role. Next slide, please. So I think I'm, due to time limitation, I'm not discuss too many till maybe, since my time is almost, I finished maybe 25 minutes or 20 minutes, maybe another 4 to 5 minutes I'm discuss quickly, and then I'll tell some conclusions, or I can tell that verbally, and if you have any question, I answer. That's okay. So you can see, for example, we have a cathode. Yeah. I'm okay. Shalini, okay. Sorry. Okay. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay. So you can see that the cathodes means, for example, top one, anodes. So next slide, please. So, for example, one slide, these are the various commercial cathodes people are using. For example, you can see NCM. This can use it for cathode materials for electric vehicles, and for example, iron phosphate, etc. These are all the things. That's why we need something like understand this material fundamentals for future application. Next slide, please. So now one example I'm going to mention that how the for example, we can prepare the material. We have capabilities. For example, in laboratory, you want to prepare some oxides. For example, lithium containing iron phosphate or vanadium fluorophosphate is possible. Put the sample in carbon with the respective oxides. You can heat the sample, either inert or whatever the way you can do. We have capabilities. You can prepare the material in a small scale, as well as the tons of the quantities. Also, we can prepare by using the different big reactors there. Next slide, please. So this is one example is lithium vanadium fluorophosphate. It is a 4.2 volt cathode material, and vanadium 3+ to 4+ redox couple, and reasonably good thermal stability because of the phosphorus oxygen bond is good when compared to the metal oxygen bond. Next slide, please. So these are usually, so whatever the way you do as a material researcher, you can try to prepare them, characterize them. That's why we need something like X-ray diffractometer, the importance of instrumentation. And we can characterize them with the different softwares. We can tell that your material is good or not. And we can see your nano size, which are the size and shapes we can see by the microscopy. Next slide. So how we make the battery? This is a way usually we can make a conductive material conducting carbon and binder all together. So you make a slurry and try to coat it by using ductor blade. You can do by using something like, you can see them, like that. Finally roll it and dry the thing, roll it and cut into the small circular disc or pouch cell, whatever cells you want to do, and then dry the things again, put it in the glove box, etc. So these are ways as a laboratory or university can do. If you go for university, for example, industry, what it is, next step, you can, next slide, please. Industry, what they will do, everything is automated. You can see the mixing, coating, calendaring, they're all things automated. That's why nowadays big companies instrument they're able to supply. Only here you need something like kilograms for the quantity. For example, 5 kilo, 2 kilos, etc. Materials are needed. Next slide, please. Once you prepare any cells, I will do fabricate the cell. These are typically bottom cap and your materials, cathode, anode, and then finally they put electrolyte, everything. Finally, the cell is ready. And again, with the use of the advanced instrumentation, you can study further charge, discharge, etc. Next slide, please. So as a summary, you can see the charge, discharge potential is the bottom one and capacity over cycle number. That's why you have to look for long-term cycling. As a good batteries, you have to get higher voltage. That's why lithium, melanin, fluorophosphate is higher voltage. And automatically we can get the voltage multiply capacity, we can get the high energy density. It clearly shows that the importance of novel materials, we may get high energy density. Next slide, please. So again, we can do a lot of other stuff. For example, impedance, same technique, we can do understand how the mechanisms, etc. Next slide, please. So in summary, what is the information we can get by using this particular thing? Okay, we can tell, okay, for high energy density, always look for higher charge potential and high capacity. That's why nowadays, a new gen, you want to reduce the cost, we have to look for the high capacity and high energy density. Next slide, please. So anyway, some of the new materials you've been focused, since I don't have much time to discuss all the new material again, always should look for 4-volt materials compared to a commercial iron phosphate, 3.5, nearly 4 volts also you've been done. Next slide, please. And also something like other type of technology, for example, sodium is there, potassium is also there, and different type. Only problem is if you go for lithium is good, if you go for sodium, capacity will decrease. You know that the reason is that higher ionic radius capacity is going to be decreasing. Next slide, please. Again, with some of the new materials you've been work into this literature, and then these are the, and also you can see after publishing the some Nobel laureate also been looked into this our system. Next slide, please. I think people are asking about grid application. Their cost is a major issue. That's why sodium battery seems to be a little bit promising because we can reduce the cost, and also sodium is more abundant when compared to lithium. Again, this has some other problems. You can go to next slide, please. So next slide, since my time is up, okay. So you can see, for example, lithium is 4.2 volt. We can get either sodium, we can see left side 3.5. As a consequence, you can get a lower energy density. That's why, anyway, for the grid station applications, so especially if you do with the portable application, the energy density is very important. Next slide, please. So I think these are the either commonly graphite, silicon. These are the commercial anodes you can use. Next slide, please. So this is very important. If you see the top right side is about the discharge. Charge is a typical graphite. So if you have to get a capacity like this way, that's why it is more popular because of lower discharge potential. If you talk about a graphene or anything, then it may not be 100% cannot be used. That's why material understanding the materials is very important. That's why your electroanalytical techniques will play an important role. I would like to know how many minutes I have, sir. I think almost I finished maybe 25 minutes. That's why how many minutes I have, so that I can wind up. Then maybe I'll take a question and answer. That will be better.
I think it will be finished in a few minutes, I think.
Okay. So quickly I'll go through. And maybe next slide, please. Yeah. So usually, as you see that, for example, based on nanotechnology, people can understand things with various things. That's why the importance of the instrumentation. Next slide, please. Since some more slide, maybe I can stop. So these are the different type of mechanism. I told you that I'll discuss various materials since I don't have much time. In fact, we focus on many materials. So that's why the importance of material research. That's why, and also advancement. That's why we focus many materials to understand the mechanisms, etc. Next slide, please. Since I would have run myself, so as you can see, the very new materials been focused. That's why importance of fundamental research. And there are the new materials we focus, and then again, a lot of challenges are still, it is nice as academic researcher, always to do for new directions that will be good for the future. Next slide, please. Quickly can go through, so no problem. So, okay, quickly. Next slide. Maybe next slide. So anyway, these are all the things. So next slide. So anyway, some other type of different type of oxide, again, the materials will play an important role. So next slide, please. maybe since my time is going up, maybe what I'm going to tell the conclusions. So since I'm not having time to discuss about the sensor applications, still material play an important role. Each material has some limitations, especially in terms of capacity. So now always a new challenge is that we look for high capacity and high energy density, etc. Okay. So thank you very much. And do you have any question and answer? So because I have so more slides are there, I don't have much time to discuss. Okay. Do you have any question and answer?
Well, okay. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I would like to give the opportunity to the all participants here. Just raise your hand, and I will allow you to ask directly to Mr. Reddy.
Yeah, because I have to go for sorry for the case. So finally I made it. Thanks for the technology, and thanks for your team helping move my slides. Otherwise, okay. So okay. Thank you. Do you have any question and answer? Maybe you can raise the things or put it in like a chat message. Maybe later, if time permits, I'll try to answer. Or if you have or feel free to contact by email so that our future. Do you have any questions? Maybe some other guest lecture that we'll be happy to present and talk more slowly. Okay, that will be better for you people. Okay. So, do you have any question or comments, or maybe I'll go through if anything I have, or I'll wait for you. Okay.
Okay, I think just wait for like maybe 1 minute. If there is no question, maybe you just leave your email. So if someone has a question, just send it to you or to the committee, and we will deliver the question. Maybe you can answer through the email.
Okay. Sorry for okay. So finally, this okay. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you. Maybe thank you for all organizing committee inviting me. Okay. So I made with while I was in Asia, so I'm able to present my presentation. Thank you very much. Okay. So
there is a question. There is a question.
Okay.
To Mr. Reddy from Ibu Rosika.
Okay.
Do you know?
Yeah. So in fact, I visited once. AB lab. In fact, it was in Bantan. The lab invited me. I think really great. Nice to people. In fact, and also I have some good friends in Indonesia, Indonesian University. Also, yeah. Definitely, I visited their lab also. Yeah. So in fact, so and also, so in fact, really great. I think good talks also. In fact, also very good work is going on, especially for nuclear research. Also, I think really great things is going on. Okay, definitely. In fact, not only. So many people, in fact, I didn't put their names. So as you can see that, so we already collaborated, and in fact, they visited our lab in NUS. Really nice to let's see you again, all the people, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. I know I understand the problem. Maybe in future, if any students are there, happy to talk with us very slowly, maybe 2 to 3 hours talk. That will be easier for you people. And thank you, because I'm not able to move all my slides still. So some slides may be useful for you people. Still, maybe we can discuss in future. Okay. So it is all right, sir. Maybe I'll be online. Maybe I'll try to listen if anything. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words, and then thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if you have a further question or if you have another question, just like we will provide you like an email, so you can ask directly through committee or through the email directly, and we will coordinate it to the committee, to all participants, and we'll contact or connect to you if you have question to Dr. Reddy. Once again, thank you very much for your insightful presentation. And thank you very much for your time. I know like it's the hardest time for you because you are at the hospital, right?
Very sorry. Okay, so I know you. I hope you understand. Finally, I made it. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Bye. So
thank you.
We wish you very best for your wife and for your condition right now, Mr. Reddy. And we would like to go through our next invited speaker, to the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Endang Sukara from National University. Professor Endang, you already here? Oh, cool, it's already here. I just want to test, can you speak just like a little bit, because we just want to test your microphone?
Yes, okay.
Oh, cool, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Before we go to Prof. Endang presentation, we would like to introduce or just read a short biography of Professor Endang Sukara. Professor Dr. Endang Sukara is an academician, an alumni of Universitas Nasional in 1979 and Queensland University, Australia, 1989. He served as a vice president of the Indonesian Institute of Science, or commonly known as LIPI, between 2010 and 2012. Also, deputy chairman of LIPI in life science between 2001 and 2010. He was appointed as a chairman for the National Commission for Man and the Biosphere Program, UNESCO for Indonesia from 2001 and 2010, and also the member of the International Coordinating Council, Man and Biosphere, UNESCO from 2007 until 2011. He was also appointed as a chairman of Board of Trustees for Association of Plant Resources in Southeast Asia, or commonly known as PROSIA, from 2001 to 2010. Also the member of the Board of Trustees for the Foundation of Plant Resources in Tropical Africa. He is the president of the association. He is the president of the Association for the Conservation and Sustainable Use of Microbial Genetical Resource in Asia in 2008. He is the recipient of Asian Meritorious Award 2009 and the recipient of the Australian Alumni Awards 2011 and the recipient of Queensland University Alumni of the Year 2014 and also Sarwono Award 2021. He's visiting professor of Kyoto University 2013 and 2014. Currently Vice President of the Asian Bioethnic Association for Indonesia, visiting professor to the American University of Sovereign Nation Arizona, member of Indonesian Academy of Science, and director for Study Center for Environmental Ethnic Universitas Nasional and professor board member of the Universitas Nasional. That's really, you know, like when I read just this short biography, I just want to really listen the presentation from Professor Dr. Endang. Without wasting our time, we would like to give the opportunity to the invited speaker, Professor Dr. Endang Sukara. The time is yours for 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Muzaki, for the introduction. I just would like to share a screen. Today, I just would like to talk about the roles of the university to support the research and development in the new normal condition. Of course, I would like to more emphasis on the subject that I actually learn about it, my background. This presentation material is actually also created by the team member, Ibu Retno Widowati, also Ibu Nonon Saribanon. My talk today, I would like to try to emphasize on the green standard to boost the Indonesian traditional culinary food and in the new normal. This is actually continuation from presentation by Prof. Bambang Prastia, which actually very related to it. So just we learned that COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic is actually in the October 15 is already 240 more millions is affected by this coronavirus, and almost 5 million is dead. but alhamdulillah, it's already recovered in 2017 more people recovered from this disease. In December, we remember 2019, a highly transmissible pneumonia epidemic caused by novel coronavirus, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2 erupted in China on 30th of January 2020. WHO officially declares COVID-19 as pandemic as a public health emergency international concern. Then in March 11, 2020, WHO declares that the COVID-SARS-2 is actually the pandemic. So rapid expansion of the COVID-19 is actually affecting not only 270 million people, but in fact affecting almost anyone of the humankind in the world. So this is really a big disaster for us. So with this experience, I think a lot of thing going on, including the work, intensive work. It's actually about the research work, being done to combat the COVID-19. COVID-19 pandemic is, and its nature requires rapid development of effective treatment strategies. COVID-19 pandemic really, from my understanding, catalyzed a research revolution also. And currently, researchers are struggling to identify new drug target and to find new therapeutic option to tackle the current pandemic. Scientists have identified so many drugs, but there is no definite treatment for controlling COVID-19 being established until at the moment. Researchers from many literatures, we got the information that have developed nearly 200 potential vaccines, maybe more, no. But for every insight into COVID-19, there are more questions emerge from this one. The persistent emergence of new viral variation, mutation, like what Prof. Prastia mentioned, becoming a real challenge for vaccine development until now. The U.S. Food Drug Administration, FDA, has given emergency authorization for convalescence plasma therapy, donation of blood of people recovered from COVID-19 with high antibody level for treatment. Of course, the use of this technology is quite limited, not as easy as using vaccine, for example. But another work being done is actually trying to search for novel drug target for COVID-19 therapy, which is until now continuously developed, which include inhibition of endocytosis, helicase protease inhibitors, suppression of excessive inflammation response, for example, and also nucleoside analog compound to blocking the replication of transcription complex viral protein. More molecular therapies, this is what our interest actually, that maybe inhibit the COVID-19. Plant-based therapy also being developed to prevent and treatment of COVID-19 to many pathway actually, inhibition of viral proliferation, for example. So from those of research activities, we able to summarize what actually have to be done in handling COVID-19. So the first one, of course, developing vaccine, introducing the specific antigen to our body, which result in increasing antibody to fight COVID-19. I'm not going to talk about the vaccine at the moment. The second one, which is commonly used at the moment all over the world, including also in Indonesia, social distancing, face mask use, hand washing, away from crowd, stay at home, and improve quality of environment, sanitation, as water also avoid the droplet and dust, which may become also transmitter and carriers for the COVID-19. And in fact, in point 2 here is actually trying to block the transmission of COVID-19 and then to cut the life cycle of the COVID-19. But number 3, the option which is also quite interesting, especially for Indonesia, having the mega diversity country, having so many and so diverse biodiversity, searching for biologically active material for combating COVID-19 and to prevent, for example, attachment of virus to host cell, which I would like to highlight on this one issues, prevent virus to enter the host cell, prevent the multiplication of virus on host cell, incorporate plant-based active compound into traditional indigenous culinary food of Indonesia, and also maybe to product a food product in Indonesia. So currently, I think there are so many work being done, not only in Indonesia, but all over the world, searching for biologically active material. So some of the report actually already work on 219 plants from 83 species, families found to have antiviral activities. Among them, 249 plants from 71 families which were screened and identified for plant secondary metabolite that might effective for pandemic. So this one actually carry out not in Indonesia, but some references is reported on this one. I do believe that plant resources in Indonesia is should be much more, and the opportunity to find metabolite compound which effective to fight COVID-19 will be greatly available in Indonesia. Some also researchers mentioned that crude example of many plant species, including these species, have been also employed against SARS-CoV-19. Active ingredient, for example, amodine, reserpine, and many others here, showing promising results against coronavirus. In Indonesia itself, many plants, including vegetable and spices, which I would like to highlight more on this subject, which is already used in Indonesian diet, contain flavonoid and could activate human angiotensin converting enzyme AC2, which is really responsible for attachment and virus enter to the host cell. So then these flavonoid compounds may prevent the SARS-CoV-2 to enter into the host cell. So there should be a great opportunity for Indonesia to incorporate such plant species incorporated to the Indonesian traditional culinary diet. So a lot of work also being done for fighting COVID, not only flavonoid, but also the way to consume vegetable and fruit may also improve our immune system. So we believe here that once we consume healthful food, may also increase the immune system. A well-functioning immune system is actually critical for survival. and also for our resistance to COVID-19, and it must be constantly alert and monitor sign of infection or danger. The key function of the immune include actually the role of macronutrient, micronutrient, and also gut microbe, which in immediately immunological effect. So the role of this nutrition for COVID-19 prevention is very important. Some of the antiviral function of food is mentioned in many literature also here, like fermented food, including of course tempeh in Indonesia, herb and roots, dairy product, fish, chicken and meat, protein, fruit and vegetable. In fact, the coffee also, nuts and seed, and also olive oil. This also categorized as antiviral functional food. Of course, research has to be carried out more intensively on this one. We are actually happy to having BRIN, which mentioned that a lot of work can be done by the infrastructures built by BRIN, including the testing laboratory, product certification, including the personal certification, which mentioned by Pa Mego this morning. So COVID-19 immune system also can be boosted by the presence of essential metals, like zinc, for example, iron, and also vitamin C, E, A, B, and also vitamin D. So consuming this kind of nutrition, maybe we can actually improve our immune system to fight against COVID-19. So I just also learned from new references here about the function of certain important herbal medicine to compete also to also prevent the complication from the COVID-19. For example, cardiovascular and thrombotic defense, thrombosis, ischemic stroke, for example. Currently, references mentioned here that statin, the red yeast rice, which can actually also produce in Indonesia, recognized as an active molecule having pleiotropic function, anti-inflammatory, anti-thrombotic, and anti-immunomodulatory. For this reason, statin play important role in adjunctive therapy for endothelial cell dysfunction, mitigation, and control inflammation of patients, including patients infected by COVID-19. So another one, actually, I just would like to mention here, also very important, the dahlia, which has very nice flowers, but it actually produces the tuber. This tuber actually contains the inulin. Inulin is actually very important to help alleviation of AC2 receptors in the epithelial cell of alveoli. Because only recently, this virus also found in feces also, COVID-19 patient, epithelial cell of colon, introcyte of duodenum expressing SCE2 receptor. This is an indication that gut microflora could be associated with a lung infection by COVID-19. Good gut microflora community, where the inulin is actually the bifido factor, the factor which actually improve the good gut microflora community, improve immune system. The presence of inulin is important as bifido factors to promote lactic acid bacterial growth, for example, and improve immune system. Inulin acts as a probiotic, improve butyrate and reduce inflammation, and improve asthmatic condition and prevent cystic fibrosis. This actually could improve in alleviating the lung cancer disease, including also the COVID-19. For more detail, There is also here references mention that the viral infection, the COVID-19, enter to the cell, to the host cell of human being is actually there is a function of AC2 here, the certain molecule which attach to the membrane cell of our host of the COVID-19 host cell, so which can actually catch the COVID-19 virus, then can enter to the host cell. So many references mention that the activities of AC2 can actually be inhibited by phenolic compound here. So the certain flavonoid could interact with AC2 and prevent a viral to bind to the host cell. So inactive the function of AC2, for example, that's actually being very important at the moment for preventing SARS-CoV-19 infection. This is actually what I would like to highlight more to you about the function of the flavonoid, where it's actually present and how to use it. So this diversity of vegetable, which also consumed by Indonesian people in many diet, or maybe consumed in fresh vegetable like Solanum nigrum contain flavonoid. Another Solanum also contain flavonoid. What in Sundanese mentioned this the vegetable pohohan containing flavonoid, surawung, for example. There are a lot of vegetable consumed in the Indonesian daily diet is actually very important to contain flavonoid compound, and maybe also have a very good alternative for combating COVID-19. When we see the spices in Indonesia used in Indonesian traditional culinary food, including the andaliman, for example, tamarind, onion, garlic, and so many other things. Here I have a list. They are all containing flavonoid compound. So now the question is how flavonoid-rich vegetable or spices can help to fight against COVID-19 pandemic. So what our thinking is, we have to incorporate plant-based active compound like flavonoid into traditional Indonesian culinary food. Nutritional status, example, flavonoid content of the traditional Indonesian culinary food is very important to maintain and to be able to use to protect and to increase immune system against the virus. Antiviral ingredient like flavonoid present in the vegetable and spices may also related to the inhibition of angiotensin converting enzyme interaction with the spike of the virus protein. So the question is now, can this Indonesian standard SNE related to this flavonoid contents of the many Indonesian vegetables and spices, and also incorporated to Indonesian traditional culinary food, which contain also flavonoid, can be designed. I learned from a presentation of Professor Prasria, Pak Bang. I think it is a lot of chances to develop a standard, for this kind of Indonesian traditional culinary food, to having also efficacy for fighting COVID-19. But we need new design and new concept also for food relative standard, because the standard food standard currently exists, not only in Indonesia, also in the world. I think not too detailed, so maybe it has to be more detailed including the content of the specific molecule inside it. So we are actually introducing the new concept, the green SNE standard for Indonesian traditional culinary food, which is actually more emphasis on the quality of raw material. So where actually spices and also vegetables produce, maybe have to have a new organic farming or precision farming where it can be harvested when the flavonoid accumulation is happening. For example, improvement of nutrition to respond to the requirement of new normal and food safety also. I think this greens SNE have a chance in Indonesia. Green SNE may also be applied for boosting Indonesian traditional culinary food for new normal, also for new economic opportunities. Need science and technology, of course, to preserve, to maintain nutrition and its viability of the Indonesian traditional culinary food. Digital technology, I think, is required in to promote the Indonesian traditional culinary food for the consumption of not only Indonesia, but also outside Indonesia. I'm really happy to hear presentation from Pamego. A lot of infrastructure have been built in BRIN. I think this work by inviting the special and competent scientists having competency on this field can be invited to work for this kind of job. So the government, like I actually mentioned, very nice to having BRIN. Maybe can help more academic researchers from universities and for research and development could be actually involved on this one. Private sector could be also support and of course from the community. So this is actually the basic research, applied research and development research as mentioned by Pak Bambang Prastia, I think maybe developed. As summary, food scientists need to work together with agriculturalists, nutritionists, civil society, and government to develop a good quality of food containing high-value nutrition suited for new normal conditions. Attention should also be focused on raw material production, better seed, for example, a good quality of cultivation technique, including organic farming and precision farming should be applied. Food processing and packaging technology is also necessary to ensure good quality Indonesian traditional quality food product and its acceptance also for the public. Important to link such product to boost immune system to fight against infectious disease, including COVID-19, I think is very challenging. So last but not least, need of green SNE to ensure food quality, nutrition, especially the specific metabolic content on it. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, thank you very much for the. Let me open it. Well, so sorry for the noisy because like I'm at the hotel right now and just like there is an event beside my rooms. So actually I just enjoy what has been presented by Prof. Endang, even though like this is not my background study, but I just get the knowledge little bit about the information technology and also what you have been told to us before. It's really insightful, and we would like to say thank you very much once again to Prof. And
thank you very much also.
And also, I think this is the time for. Let me open my. Well, okay, that's good. Let's now we go through the question and answer session. And I would like to re-invite again all speakers here already presented their presentation here, and I would like to open the question and answer session, which already mentioned or which already open. Okay, thank you for the committee. First of all, it's the committee choosing or okay. The question to Dr. Mego. Dr. Mego is already still here. The question is from Anonymous. What are the opportunities and challenges of the research organization related to standards and metrology at BRIN? Dr. Mego. Okay. So sorry. I think we just go straight forward to the question to Mr. Bambang. What's the contribution of BSN to develop secondary standard for measurement technology? Because we know that the primary standard very expensive. This is the question from Ibu Rosika, and I think we would like to give the time to Mr. Bambang to answer the question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question from Ibu Rosika. I think this is correct that the primary standard is very expensive. Yeah, this in terms of the metrology also, and we call SNS in the standard is national standard for measurement. It is cost center. Therefore, in BSN, gradually the increasing number of the budget to maintain of the to buy the primary standard. First, it is I think is already published that the last time you also have already provide some new primary standard like for the mass, for the weight. I think it's that, and of course for the second primary for the second standard, I think it is the still ongoing in planning and also in action of the program. Even it is the limited the budget to provide, but this depend on the priority of what the industry needs. But at least right now for the metrology, we can already provide for the services for the need of the industry. Even sometimes in any cases, the industry still prefer in abroad, also in Singapore and Korea, but the national standard PSN also try to make improvement, and I'm confident that the budget allocation for the metrology is quite big, yeah, compared with another deputy program, deputy program accreditation, program of development standard. So I think this is in progress, I think. And then I think also from the Pak Mego also mentioned that the BRIN also will support kind of this secondary standard to provide the industry needs. I think this. I hope this can answer the question from Rosika, yeah.
And also, before we move to the question to Prof. Endang, there is also the question for Mr. Bambang from Yanto, from Pak Yanto. Is it possible for BSN to initiate the standard which can be applied to ASEAN? For example, Europe has BSEN 1729 for school furniture.
Okay. It is to question part is one, yeah, the same, yeah?
Yes, the same.
Yeah. It's a good question in practical that the availability of standard is not fully exist in BSN, but it is open, yeah? When the stakeholder, the industry, the organization need certain standard, theoretically we can provide, but before that, we study about the need analysis. But in principle, everything, any standard from the ISO standard, from the IC, from the European standard, many standards already adopt adopted to the SNI, even it is identically, this is from the ISO identically adopted. For the certain standard, we can modify it. It is important, I think the school of furniture, I think in Europe, the standard is very quite intensive done. I also follow this standard because the industry doing the furniture also a lot in Indonesia. For example, in Germany, I also observed that the standard from DIN, for example, we can adopt it, and then we can modify it. It depend on the priority of the BSN. Normally based on the scientific adjustment, the market need, on the industry. So when the data is available, so BSN will select this the top priority. I think it is a good information when official from the organization or association send a letter to the BSN that they need a certain standard from BSEN 172029. That this is very important for the school of the furniture. I think it is open.
Well, okay. Thank you very much for the answer. We move to Prof. Endang right now. I think, okay, the question from Pak Ardi Rahman from SN. The question is, in your summary, you mentioned about precision farming. Would you like to elaborate it more and how it could improve our quality in life in this era?
Thank you, Pak Adi. It's very important question, I think, as we are not actually practicing the precision farming at the moment, because one times in Indonesia, in agriculture sector, for example, we actually focus on how to increase yield, for example, during the Green Revolution, for example. But now, I think not only improving the yields, but also how to improve the taste of the product, for example, like different varieties of paddy, for example, has been developed, so the people can choose, which one they actually like. But at the moment, it's not only high yielding variety and good taste, but no, I think becoming to the new era where the people need about the healthy food, the metabolic constituent in the food, if it is protein, but what kind of protein? It is actually affecting to our life, or even causing the allergicity, for example. So now it's going to that direction, to the healthy food. But not only that, I think in the coming 5 or 10 years, it will go to the new direction. For example, the food product is actually more like personalized, So, for example, for this person need a cucumber, but it's actually have to produce in what kind of plant, for example, and at what time actually being have to be harvested. So I think in the futures, but we have to start from now, from the current situation. The precision farming is actually an approach where the input are utilized in precise amount, precise condition to get increase the average yield, but also to get improve the quality of the product, and also to get the product which is actually specific to a certain people, to a certain individual. Because in the new era, next time, the food actually will be designed as individual level. For example, one has the allergy on certain protein, but another do not have any problem with that. In fact, for the dairy product like milk, some is actually allergic to lactose, for for example, but the people is not, So it has to be labeled also at in the futures. So I think the precision farming, you should actually able to design to write down in so it can be actually it can actually be repeated by other farmers, including what kind of seed they are going to use. But also they should have the database on the land they have. For example, with the help of last time we have agency for agroclimate agency to exactly know what kind of land they have, how much nitrogen, how much phosphorus, what kind of fertilizer they should use. If you are going to use to plant this kind of seed, for example, when it has to be planted, and then when it has to be harvested, what to what market they are actually to sell, something like that. This actually precision farming, when I actually visited Hokkaido in 1989, they already use this actually precision farming by the people of Japan. So not oversupply, just direct amount of product, which actually consumed by certain people, then we can get a healthy diet, healthy life, healthy people, and also a good indication for us with which have a demographic bonus, a lot of the human power is actually there, which is the productive human power is actually we are having at the moment. So it's actually also a need of green standard. Perhaps maybe know about that, because the green standard can be developed as much as possible in Indonesia to improve the quality of the product, and also to improve the capacity of us Indonesian to promote our product for international consumer, for example. Thank you. Hoping that answers my question. The question.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the answer, Prof. Endang Sukara. Now, would like to go to the next question to Mr. Bambang and Mr. Meiko. Where more important? Which one is more important? Standard to booster development or research innovation to booster development? Should be going together, or which one is more important? Time is yours.
Pak Meiko, first of all. Okay, thank you. The question is, I think it's important to the meeting. It is, I think, complete a character, support a character. It depends on the stage. For example, starting in the state holistic of the research, they need also certain standard, because they can guarantee the traceability and the good quality of research. That's later on we can reproducible research can do in the other certain of laboratory. So standard need in the early state of the innovation or research. It is the early state of the research, and then in the last stage, I think, is in the diffusion state, when we meet the industry, the user, and the system customer, the innovation, research, and standard will be in parallel, because it is talking about the risk, technical risk, cost risk, and also the industrial or the market acceptance. When we're talking about market acceptance, this standard is very important. But when we're talking about the cost, risk of technology, and the innovation is very important. So we can we cannot spirit the function of the standard and research and innovation because they play in certain area. I hope this can answer your question. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the answer. I don't think we have a more question, right, for this session. I think we should end up our discussion right now, and there is no more conclusion because I think it's already clear, mentioned by Prof. Endang and also Pak Bambang that already answered the question from the Slido application. Well, I think that's all. Thank you very much once again for our invited and honorable speaker, Prof. Endang Sukara and Mr. Bambang Prasetya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pandang.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih Pak Bambang.
Thank you very much.
Sampai
Thank you.
ketemu nanti ya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, moderator Pak Jaki. Bagus banget.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much ya.
Well, now.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Reddy is still here actually. Thank you very much. Well, now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, now I'll give it back to the Master of Ceremony. I think we should end up our discussion and this session, and I'll give this forum to MC again. Thank you once again for the speakers, and thank you very much for the attention for all the participants here. Once again, thank you very much, and see you in the next time.
See you. Yeah. Thank you
See
very
you.
much.
Well, thank you very much to the presenters and moderator for leading the discussion. May we give virtual applause for the virtual and insightful discussion that is useful for us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of plenary session, yet we still have a parallel session in the afternoon. And we would like to invite all the guests to have a break for an hour and continue to parallel session after work. We kindly ask you to stick to the conference in the Zoom meeting till the end of the session, since I heard that the committee already prepared some kind of reward for the best presenter and best paper. And as a reminder, here's the list for the breakout session. And it categorized by STEM. Baik, kami persilakan kepada Ibu dan Bapak untuk isoma selama 1 jam dan dapat kembali lagi pada parallel session di ruangan-ruangan Zoom meeting yang telah ditentukan. Kami mohon pula Ibu dan Bapak dapat mengikuti jalannya sesi paralel ini hingga akhir karena akan ada hadiah menarik bagi presenter dan paper terbaik. Sekian dari saya, sampai jumpa lagi di akhir sesi paralel 1 jam kemudian. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.